Hello, and welcome to Holy Week 2025 devotionals. We start today on Sunday. We're going to start with John 12, 20 through 27. John records for us this. Now there were certain Greeks among those who came up to worship at the feast. Then they came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida of Galilee, and asked him, saying, Sir, we wish to see Jesus. Philip came and told Andrew, and in turn Andrew and Philip told Jesus. But Jesus answered them, saying, The hour has come that the Son of Man should be glorified. Most assuredly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much grain. He who loves his life will lose it, and he who hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. If anyone serves me, let him follow me, and where I am, there my servant will be also. If anyone serves me, him my Father will honor. Now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? But for this purpose I came to this hour. Our goal this week during Holy Week is to take a look at the timeline which each of the Gospels lines up for us. That time between the triumphal entry into Jerusalem by Jesus and then that Easter Sunday, that Resurrection Sunday. To help us do this very thing, we'll be reading from what each of the four Gospels records for us about that week. Now, understand, we're not trying to harmonize the Gospels here with one another. That's a task that I fear often leads to a destruction of the events that the Gospel writer has been specifically inspired to share regarding their witness concerning Jesus. Our hope instead is to hear this familiar story this week from a perspective that brings us to the same confession which we hear from the lips of the Roman centurion on Friday. And that confession is this: surely Jesus was and is the Son of God. Our reading for today from John chapter 12 is placed immediately after Jesus' entry into Jerusalem on what we know as Palm Sunday. Now it seems odd that Jesus' words to these Greek-speaking Gentiles are, the hour has come that the Son of Man should be glorified. If we were Jesus, we might be excited that our ministry is reaching out to these who need to hear the gospel. Instead, Jesus seems a little unimpressed with these visitors. Perhaps we might even call Jesus a little bit rude here when these come to ask him about visiting with them. But Jesus' statement is very important, and for several reasons. The hour is an important theme that we find throughout John's gospel. At least 8 other times John talks about this very thing. For the first time in the gospel, Jesus' hour has come. The time is right for God to act through Jesus. This indicates to us that the critical moment has arrived. All who follow Jesus, that's us, continue to live in the significance of that moment, of that hour which has come for Jesus to be glorified by the Father. Jesus' statement, coupled with the parable about the grain of wheat, make up John's clearest signal that the time for Jesus' death is near. The parable of the seed in verse 24 explains the purpose of Jesus' death. A seed that does not die cannot accomplish what it's meant to do. But by its death, a seed multiplies its purpose. This is a clear indication that Jesus saw his sacrifice on the cross would both provide rescue for individual souls from the power of sin and form a community for the reconciled, obedient children of God. Verses 25 through 26 challenge would-be disciples to join Jesus in total obedience to the Father. And that challenge becomes even more meaningful as we realize that the cross is very near in Jesus' future. Think about the significance of this passage for the beginning of Holy Week. Not only has the hour of Jesus' death come, but the time for the gospel to go to the world is also at hand. Through Jesus, God has opened the door for the opportunity for fellowship with himself and for all who will trust God through believing on Jesus. John is communicating to his readers a powerful message. Jesus' death will provide the opportunity for redemption and atonement for the Gentiles as well as for the Jews. We are those Gentiles coming to Jesus. And we recognize today that God is opening the way of salvation and reconciliation to himself through Jesus. And this way travels directly through the cross.